Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Arvin Saxena, and I am actually a lead BSF mentor inside the Inner VIP Platinum Mentorship program that we have. And in today's session, I wanted to walk you guys through the beginning of Facebook and Instagram advertising. Guys, so before we get started with, the deeper scale of Facebook and Instagram advertising, I would like us to go ahead and learn the basic concepts behind the actual metrics on the Facebook Ads Manager when you do run your actual Facebook ads or Instagram ads, right? So we really like to understand what is a break-even ROAS, right? So a break-even ROAS stands for return on ad spend, and BE stands for break-even ROAS. So what essentially is, and why do you need to know what it is? Well, so the break-even return on ad spend is the return that you need from your actual ad spend in order to go ahead and break even, right? So you want to spend a certain amount of money on Facebook advertising, and you need a specific return, which is your ROAS, and your break-even ROAS essentially is how much actual return do you really need to go ahead and break even. Now, this may sound a little complicated at the beginning, but I will definitely go ahead and clear this up for you guys, and it's very, very important to understand this metric specifically. So how do we calculate break-even ROAS, right? We can calculate this using your sale price. What are you going to go ahead and sell the product for, your sale price or your sell price? So essentially the price you're willing to sell your product for, and then obviously you're going to have built-in margins within that, and I'll talk about that as well. And then you're going to have your cost of goods sold, or COGS, the total cost of goods sold, which also factors in shipping costs, right? And then your break-even ROAS can be calculated by a simple division of the sale price divided by the sell price minus the cost of goods sold. So for example, let's say you go on AliExpress and you find a product, let's say the beanie bag, right? You find a beanie bag and you find the product for $45 on AliExpress, right? And shipping was free for you guys from AliExpress, and you were really happy with that supplier and you wanted to move forward to run advertising. So first and foremost, at BSF, we always recommend a minimum margin of $20. It's called a profit margin, right? And essentially what we want to do is we want to add $20 to the cost of the actual product. So for example, let's say you got your product for $45, plus you add $20, and then your product is now worth $65. Now, of course, you have to obviously maintain, the competition. You want to go ahead and look at the actual other suppliers and other competition stores that are selling the product for you as well, to obviously not only secure the lowest cost, but also be able to sell it for the highest amount of money, while still making sure that your product has a high perceived value, and that perceived value is greater than the price that you're selling at, or your sell price. So in this example, our cost of goods sold here is $14.95, right? We have a minimum margin. In this case, we're selling it for $39.95, and that's a margin greater than $25, right? Which is perfect. That meets the minimum, and that's a good margin enough for us to go ahead and run advertising. So the sell price is $39.95, and the cost of goods sold, guys, is $14.95. So if you do the calculation quickly, the break-even ROAS for you will be $39.95 divided by $39.95 minus $14.95. If you do this quick calculation, you're seeing that we're going to get a return on ad spend, break-even return on ad spend at 1.59. You could round up to 1.6, right? And you're gonna ask yourself, what does this mean, Arvind? How does this help us at all? So see, guys, when you're running ads, you spend money to receive sales or a return on your investment, right? ROI, or however other investments gurus would like to say it. Now, in order to gauge the performance of your campaign, your overall product, to see where you're going at, you need to analyze the return, and you have to compare that to your break-even ROAS. So let's say you launch a campaign, you're running $5 budgets per day for your audiences, and you're making X amount of money, right? So let's say you spent 5 and you made 20. Now the ROAS, the break-even ROAS, or the return for that specific ad set will be 4x, because you spent $5 and you've made 20, right? So 5 times 4 is 20. Therefore, your return on ad spend, your ROAS, is 4, which is very, very healthy, because you've listed here, which you've calculated previously, that your return that you need to break even on that product is only 1.6. Therefore, you now have a better understanding as to what metrics to look out for and how your actual product is doing. So let's say we spend $10 in ad sets and get $10 in ads and get back $16 in sales. Our return on ad spend is simply $16 divided by $10, which will give you 1.6, and that's essentially what the ROAS is saying. So you can spend $10 and you need to go ahead and make sure you get $16 in sales total, right? And then you'll have a return on ad spend, which is 1.6. And in the calculation for this specific product right here, you would be break even, right? Now, let's go ahead and look at a couple of more examples as well. Let's say if an ad set gives us a return on ad spend of 1.45. This now will be below break-even ROAS and therefore unprofitable. Now, of course, we would want to probably be very analytical with that ad set. Keep that in mind as you're continuing to run ad sets and campaigns, and you're going to understand that, hey, we're not really profitable on that. Let's say if an ad set gives you a ROAS of 1.6. Now, this is equal to your break-even ROAS, therefore you are breaking even, meaning you're spending money, but you're not really making much profit, but you're breaking even. Right? You didn't make any profit, you didn't lose. The 1.45 scenario, you lost some money, and the 1.6 scenario, you were break even. Now, if an ad set gives us a ROAS of 3.2, this is obviously very above break-even ROAS and therefore profitable, right? So you guys have to be able to understand when you're running advertising and you have multiple ad sets, it's going to get really tricky to understand how to go ahead and see which one to pause, which one to scale, which one to actually leave running. And that's why it's important to understand your break-even ROAS, which is simply by your price on your store and simply divided by the profit margin, which is again the $39.95 in the example minus $14.95, which gives you 1.6 in this case. So 3.2 would be very, very, very healthy, right? Now, typically we do recommend having a return that is above 3 ROAS, just generally, but keep in mind this will change from product to product, right? Not all products are the same, because some products, you may have the $20 margin on all the products, but some products that cost much cheaper will have a lower break-even ROAS, and some products that cost a lot will have a larger break-even ROAS, and therefore you have to understand this specific number here. So for example, right now in this case, we have a $39 product and the cost of goods sold is so less. That's okay, even though we have about $25 margins. Now let's say if this was much, much larger, and then this one was only $20 difference from that, it'll be an actual higher break even. So break even is not, there's no target break even that we're looking for necessarily, but we want to make sure that we can double the break even ROAS at minimum. So 1.6 times 2 is 3.2. So right around that range is really, really healthy for you, and you're going to be able to make some profits as well as you continue moving forward here, right? So. And now, now that you've understood what the break-even ROAS is, you can look at this metric and, basically be able to analyze all your ad campaign. You'll now be able to understand that, even though you're running 10, 20, 30, 40 audiences, just by this simple metric, you're going to be able to compare to how your product currently is based on your profit margin and how much profit are you actually making, or if it's actually healthy or not, right? A lot of us tend to get overwhelmed because of a lot of amount of actual ad sets we have per campaign. But if you guys understand the basic core foundation, it's actually pretty simple. You just got to analyze your current return on ad spend based on your break-even ROAS. In this case, like I mentioned previously, it's starting to decline, meaning you are in negative territory. You're not making any profit, you're in a slightly unprofitable area. 1.6 is you're in the break-even area, and then in 3.2, which is double what your original was, is pretty healthy to be. So anything that you have in terms of your break-even ROAS times 2, let's say your break-even ROAS was 2, times 2 would be 4, right? So if you're healthy, if you're running at 4, you are profitable. Now keep in mind, anything above 2 for that break-even ROAS is still profitable. But of course, your target profitability should be very high because, as you guys know, we're in the business to make money on these products as well, and obviously produce an impact to the customers' lives that we change as well, right? So this basically simply helps us understand the overall direction of where our ad sets are heading, and this also allows us to, have a little bit of comfort and be rest assured that the metrics that we're looking at and the ads that we're running and spending our hard-earned money on is being put to good use because the returns are really good versus our break-even ROAS, guys. That was it for this short session on Facebook and Instagram advertising part 1. Stay tuned as we continue in the weeks and months to come. I'm going to have a lot of these sessions to make sure that you guys are very, very familiar with how to understand Facebook advertising the BSF way.